Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to Stormgate Central and another casted game. This time we have the other semi-final from the Stormgate Nexus tournament. This one is going to be between Mana, playing here as the Celestials as he floats his Morph Core down to his natural, going up against LucifroN. So LucifroN beat Naomi to get here, and Mana actually had to go through Vortex, one of the best Infernal players in Stormgate at the moment. In fact, I think I'm not sure if he's still top of the leaderboard, but he has been for most of the lifespan of the game as we are in early access right now. But he beat him. Great job there. So Mana is going to be going up here against LucifroN and seeing who makes it onto the final to go up against Parting. So this one's going to be a best of 7. All of the quarterfinals have been best of 5s. And then the final is also going to be a best of 7 as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed, by the way, if you've been following this series. If it's been like popping up in your recommended section on YouTube and you don't want to miss the final, hitting that sub button is always a great way to support me. And of course, keep an eye on all of the Stormgate content and news going forward here. So, no surprises, we see LucifroN going for this scout meta. I do think this will be one of the last games that I cast and you watch with this meta, guys. I'm pretty confident that on Tuesday, when the patch is scheduled, one of the biggest patches, or the biggest patch in Stormgate since they released the game into early access, there will be some balance changes, and I can only assume they are going to be nerfing the dogs somewhat. So LucifroN almost gets a pick actually on that power bank. That would have been huge if he could have gotten that right out the gate, but the Sovereign's Watch is going to defend easily enough here for Mana. But he has used quite a lot of energy for this, so he's been a little bit low there. Has to get that second power bank down. And also going for the Starforge here. So, interesting to see the comparisons between, like, for example, Mana and Parting. You know, yesterday, or, well, yesterday for me, I'm not sure when you guys watched the game, but Parting generally likes to go for these Argents, or he likes to go for early Seraphim. But here we see Mana getting out the Starforge, so clearly going for some Vectors, most likely. Which is a unit that we haven't really seen a lot either, right? Because they got a pretty hefty nerf in the last balance patch. Their movement speed was nerfed by 1. And to make up for that, they made it so that the upgrade increased their movement speed beyond what was normally possible. But we really haven't seen many pro players using them all too much, so it's very interesting to see Mana actually going for this here in game number 1. But they are going to be a great counter to scouts, right? Because they do extra damage to light units. They're pretty fast as well, even though their movement speed has been nerfed somewhat. But LucifroN is going for those good old hedgehogs. He loves to do this build. That's what we saw him do against Naomi. He always opened up with the scouts, transitioned into the hedgehogs pretty early, so didn't go too all in with the scout numbers there. As you can see, he doesn't even have a biolab, so he's not getting Virillion Claws or anything like that. Going to be getting pretty heavy on the one base hedgehogs though here, and the question is, can the Vectors really hold a candle to the hedgehogs? Because I would say that, you know, hedgehogs probably a little bit better. In fact, if we check out the movement speed of these here, Vectors have 5 right now. They used to have 6, nerfed down a little bit. Hedgehogs, oh wait, yeah, okay, no, that's armor. What am I looking at here? 6.75, right. Sorry, guys. Haven't looked at the tooltips too much. So 6.75 move speed compared to 5. You tell me which is going to be the easier unit to micro. But Mana is setting up a pretty nice looking forward position here. And whilst it may look like on the supplies as if he has fewer units, I would actually say his army is ever so slightly more powerful than LucifroN's because he doesn't have any workers in that supply count. Dogs are coming in here, and Mana really needs to make these dogs engage with the Argents. They're really not going to do much against the Argents, but if they get a wraparound on the Vectors at the back, that could spell disaster for him. But then the Vectors also have this blink ability where they can get on a dodge very easily. So I think with Mana's micro skills, that's going to be super easy. Oh, actually, Biolab has now come out, so he is going for those Virillion Claws, LucifroN, on the scouts. That's going to make them do so much more damage against light units. Not very effective, of course, against the Argents, though, so you know, this army is kind of a jack-of-all-trades type of army here. It's not the exact counter to you want for one thing, but yeah, it's kind of a bit of a mismatch for both players. And it's really going to come down to micro here to who takes this. Big push now coming in, though, from Mana, and LucifroN has to absolutely defend against this. He's going to position the Vectors around, trying to get some picks on the Bobs. Overcharge goes down, though, and this is going to be very disastrous for Mana if he engages with those Bobs for too long, but doing a great job keeping those Vectors down there behind the Argents. I think he does still have the Blink ability available, so if he needs to... Oh, one Vector goes down there. Maybe he didn't have Blink. Not sure why he didn't move that one back. And this Vector's also going to go down. Yeah, some of those dogs are getting way too much damage on the Vectors there. I don't know why... Okay, there we go. Blinking one of them back. I'm just wondering why Mana just didn't bother blinking those back. He just sort of ate the damage. Maybe he thought the trade would be better there, but Vectors do cost Therium. And let's remember, Scouts don't cost Therium at all. So some of the Hedgehogs did go down there as well, but LucifroN, being the Vanguard player that he is, of course, has that repair ability. Going to be able to easily lick his wounds here on the remaining Hedgehogs. Mana, on the other hand, is going to have to sort of tuck tail and run home with these the Vectors. Some of them are quite low on health. I really, really hope, by the way, guys, on Tuesday that we get health bars in replays. That would be one of the best quality of life changes for you, I think, as a viewer, and also for me, who's casting games, so that we can see which units are low, which aren't, without having to click on every single one of them. It's such a basic feature, but you really do appreciate it when it's gone, don't you? So, both these players right now committing to stay on one base. Mana's not trying to expand behind this or anything. Building more of these Argents out of this proxy. Ooh, nice blink back there. Almost got picked off, that Vector did. So yeah, he's just got, I mean, a couple of collection arrays here. I don't think there's anything else. Sometimes you really have to be, you know, quite active checking around the map where the Celestial players actually expanded, because they leave such a small signature on top of the Luminite mine on the minimap. Even when you're playing the game, sometimes prisms and collection arrays can go unawares there. Oh, that Vector, man, Vectors actually have so much HP. I thoroughly expected that one to get picked off there. One of the Vectors is now going down, but I think there's way too many Hedgehogs here for LucifroN. Like, the Vectors have now used their blink back. If he manages to target these down, they're going to die. Shield goes down on one of the Hedgehogs there. We've got 5 left, so they are starting to get thinned out a little bit here by Mana. But every time he's not targeting a Vector, he's targeting the Argents. And Argents are just pretty terrible, really, going up against Hedgehogs. And now he's giving chase here, picking off more Argents as he goes. And, I mean, okay, there's a health camp here, but Mana's kind of getting stuck in a place he can't get out of. And this Vector is getting dangerously low. This one's on 72. A new full health one has just come in here. But that too is also getting pretty low. But miraculously, Mana's actually managing... Okay, he actually manages to pick off all of the Hedgehogs and comes out ahead there. So, I guess Vectors are way more tanky compared to Hedgehogs. I would have definitely given this engagement to LucifroN. But, hey, maybe I should be giving Vectors more credit than they're worth here, guys. So, Mana got to take this game going up 1-0. Alrighty, so game number 1 there going to Mana. Let me go and sort the scores there. There we go, 1-0 for Mr. Mana. And this time we are playing on Isle of Dread, guys. So that was kind of interesting what we saw on Titan's Causeway, because generally speaking that map has quite a long rush distance, but Mana really made nice use of that proxy creation chamber there to get the Argents out nice and close to the base. And then the Vectors, of course, having the quick movement speed that they do, that's not really much of an issue, the long rush distance there. However, this time we got a much bigger map. Much bigger map here. So are we going to see the same sort of thing out of Mana, going for that early Starforge, getting the Vectors out and starting to do some harassment? We're certainly going to see the same scout opening here, I think, from LucifroN. I don't think there's been a game yet from him, at least in this competition, where he hasn't opened up with scouts. And that's not to say I'm blaming him by any stretch of the imagination. That just is the meta at the moment. And I think that's the reason why a lot of us want to see it changed. Some people are calling for the scouts to be, well, just that, a scouting unit and not an offensive unit. But I don't really see Frost Giant nerfing it to that point. I think they've committed too much to this unit at this point where they would want to do that. But yes, I certainly agree that changes are needed, and we are surely going to see that, I think, on Tuesday, or whenever the patch drops down. So how many scout numbers is he going to go for here? He's got 3, getting a 4th one out here. Maybe that's a 5th one, in fact, because there is one traveling across the map right now. scouting Mana's base. And Mana right now actually deciding to go for some prism production. So unlike the last game where he went for the second collection array, this time going to be getting those prisms out, moving his arc ship out onto the map a little bit here. And we've seen in other games that having presence on the map with your arc ship is so incredibly important. Maybe some of you don't know, but there is actually a heal ability on the arc ship that heals your units, so having that at the front line wherever you're fighting is certainly beneficial. But there's always that lingering threat that if you have your main building, your arc ship, your arc station, your fortress, whatever it is, on the front line, of course, it's more susceptible to damage and getting sniped and all that sort of stuff. But we've also seen in some extreme cases, like, you know, parting when he went up against a laser, sniping buildings with it. Once you upgrade this thing to the Arc Fortress, you get this huge death ray, and there's a massive wraparound coming in here for LucifroN. Is he going to get all of these? I mean, he's actually, I think he maybe misrallied one of those dogs, like it just kind of derped out and went down there by accident. And he's actually not getting enough damage on these here. So without the Varillion Claws, I don't think he's going to take all these out. Yeah, I think Mana is just going to manage to tuck himself away in the corner well enough to spread the damage out a little bit. But as he re-engages this creep, LucifroN's going to come in, gets another pick there. So nice job by him. In fact, I don't think he really lost too many dogs there. He's still got one there. He's got like 6 dogs or so. So he's in pretty good shape. The mech bay is down. So those hedgehogs are going to be coming out for him once again. But what is it going to be for Mana right now? He's just going for a more macro-heavy build. There you can see the little heal going down for the Arc Ship. Always nice to see for him. But yes, not really committing too heavily to anything. Getting the double creation chamber up here. One of them power surged. Got a couple of prisms out here. So right now he's sort of, you know, running on like, I don't know, like 1.5 base, I guess. You know, the 2 collection arrays here make up 1, and then you've got, what is it, 1, 2, 3 prisms, so I'd say that's, yeah, pretty much roughly 1.5 expansions, 2 LucifroN's 1, so definitely here, economically, Mana is coming out ahead, but tech-wise, he's coming out behind, because he's only building Argents, and LucifroN is building these Hedgehogs, and as these Hedgehog numbers start to increase, those engagements can become more and more scary, I think, for Mana, if he chooses only to engage with the Argents. He probably wants to go for a Guardian Nexus and get the speed out for the Argents at the very least, just so he can try to tango with those Hedgehogs a little bit better. But I also know that Mana is a big fan of Dark Prophecy. Not as good of an ability, though, against the Vanguard as it is against the Infernals, so we're going to see if he goes for that or not. And meanwhile here, LucifroN is doing a slightly better job taking the tower control, taking both these health camps in the middle. I think he could actually be doing more. He doesn't really realize that Mana is not out on the map at all. He's just kind of chilling back home, building up his resources here, expanding. LucifroN is now deciding to expand himself. But that's one of the main advantages of having those scouts, is they are so fast, and once you get Varillion Claws, you do so much damage to the creeps, as well as enemy light units. So they're really, really great for taking a lot of these camps, but we actually don't see LucifroN going for too many. Instead, he seems more interested in poking in Mana's base here, and let's see if he can get some economical damage done on the collection array. He is going to force a lift off here, surely. Sovereign's Watch goes down, but that's not going to be enough against this many dogs. Half HP here. He's bringing the Argents back. He actually holds his bottle there. Doesn't lift off. I definitely would have lifted that one off. Okay, Cabal's now coming out for Mana. So this is certainly the counter to the Hedgehogs. Guardian Nexus is now down as well. So, oh, interesting. Instead of going for the Argent upgrade, he's actually going to be going for Kree. Getting roll out so he can surround those Hedgehogs and get the debilitate off on them. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense, right? Krees do extra damage. They do extra damage against light units like the Hedgehogs. Argents, not so much. Like, the Argent damage isn't per se that bad against anything as long as they've got energy. They're just more of a, I want to say, a kind of meh unit. Like, unless the unit is heavy, they just sort of do okay, and they're, you know, they're a decent meat shield in your army. But as we start to get into this point of the game where we're, what, like 6, almost 7 minutes in here, the Argents do start to fall off in efficacy. But they're still going to provide some decent firepower from the back line. So Mana's plan right now is to get in here with the Cabals and use this Debilitate Beam. And which you don't have to upgrade, by the way. That's like the I believe that is the ability that they get right off the bat. So very nice to actually build against this. You can get them out pretty quickly. And he's going to put Debilitate on all the Hedgehogs here. You'll notice it by the purple aura. Try and slow them down and then get a nice surround with his Krees. And then dish out some of the damage with the Argents. Is he going to be going for the Argent upgrade as well? Going for Cabal Adept Training now. Which gives them the Gravity Flux ability as well. Which is the one that allows them to sort of stasis... Well, not stasis units, but lift them off. Or ground them if it's an air unit. So here we see Debilitate going off on a couple of those Hedgehogs there. Another one, this one is almost getting caught. LucifroN's doing a pretty nice job microing these back though. They are just so painfully slow. I don't remember the percentage it reduces the movement speed by. I think it's like 50%. It's pretty dire. Like, have you ever seen a Hedgehog move so slowly before? And now the rolling into the Bobs here on the natural. The Hangar Bay's actually out here for LucifroN, so good call getting Gravity Flux there by Mana. That is going to allow him to bring down any Hornets. I'm not sure if Gravity Flux is done yet. It is... Yeah, it looks like Gravity Flux is done. Questionable whether he actually has the energy to cast it. If a Hornet goes up here, Sentry Post gets denied. That's absolutely huge there for Mana. He probably is going to be able to push into this base now. And LucifroN kind of has to do something. His entire army is going to get shredded, though, by Krees, so, you know, he really needs to be careful. Any of these units that get Debilitate on them, he needs to micro them back. But I think the Kree numbers aren't really enough here for Mana. He's trying to get a wraparound, but there are so few Krees that they're most likely going to get focused down by the Hedgehogs. Another Sentry Post denied here by Mana, though, and more Krees now rolling in. This is going to be a massive problem for LucifroN. He's losing so many Bobs here. Clearly, he doesn't have the energy available for overcharge on them, which would have probably saved them from the Krees with the increased armor that they get. This is looking pretty terrible for LucifroN. This base has all but been sacked here. All the Bobs are dead. And even one less Hedgehog there getting caught among Mana's army. So, I mean, Mana, let's remember, already had an economical lead here. Because he went for the collection array and then he also got some prisms out as well. So, very quickly he got up onto 1.5 bases. And now he's killed the natural. He's already got another collection array waiting here. Okay, this time LucifroN's actually... I like this play from him. Instead of waiting for his Hornet to get Gravity Flux by the Cabals, he just sends it across the map, and he's going to be picking off all of those prisms there. Remember, guys, Hornets do extra damage against air units, so that's why he's going for the prisms first, and now he's getting to work on the collection array, but I don't think it even matters because Mana's army is just so much stronger here than LucifroN's. This time, though, the Bob Overcharge is available in the main, so let's see if these Bobs can hold on against the Krees. Some of them actually going down there, and they're repairing themselves there for dear life, but there's still a Cabal left. So any of these Hedgehogs that decide to poke forward, trying to get some snipes on the Kree, trying to get some snipes on the Argents, they are going to be met with a Debilitate there from the Cabal. And an Atlas comes out, but I think, unfortunately for LucifroN, it's just too little too late. He would have loved to get an evac out with that Atlas, and that would have been interesting to see, but I think this has got to be game. The Overcharge is still on here, but actually, Mana has lost all of the backline of his army. He now only has Argents, the Cabals have gone down, the Kree have gone down, and he knows better than most that, as I was saying earlier, these units just aren't that great by themselves, especially not at this point in the game. So, LucifroN does survive here, ever so slightly. Let's remember, though, the Hangar Bay's gone down, so even if he does get an Atlas out and he wants to micro it, he's going to have to rebuild the Hangar Bay as well, and this is all off of a one-base economy. Meanwhile, the Hornet has still survived. He's taken down the collection array here, so actually doing some nice economical damage. This is going to make Mana perhaps think twice about overcommitting into the base. But he's going for a second assault here. He has some more Krees now as the front line for his army. And a Cabal coming up here to reinforce as well. So I think now he's going to be able to... Oh, 2 Cabals coming in. Yeah, this is definitely bad for LucifroN. He's going to be able to get those Debilitates down. Catching one of the Hedgehogs there. Another overcharge has gone down on the Bobs, it looks like. But this is just not going to be enough. All of the Kree now getting a nice surround there on the Hedgehog. Insane repairs, though, going down. Look at the Bob concave on that thing. Is it going to survive? Nope, it goes down as well. This Hedgehog's going to die as well. And this has got to be game right here, I believe. LucifroN has absolutely nothing left. And he loses the game. Mana goes up 2-0. So moving on to Boneyard here for map number 3. That was a very cool game from Mana. I loved just the straight counter. There was nothing too fancy, you know, he just saw everything coming there. He sees the Hedgehogs. He just predicts probably that LucifroN's going to go Hedgehogs. He gets the Cabals. Then he predicts, actually, that he's going to get the Hangar Bay out. I'm not sure he even scouted that. Maybe he did. Maybe he scanned it. Gets the Gravity Flux. Didn't really need to use the Gravity Flux as we only saw one Hornet come out there, but... You know, really nice read there by Mana, countering things and reacting perfectly to LucifroN's play. Whereas in the first game, he went for something a little bit more cheesy. Now, you know, this map here, I would say, since he's 2-0, if he had something a little bit quick and dirty, I would say he would go ahead and use this, but because we have a fairly large map, I don't think he is going to go for that, so he's just going to play it fairly safe here, get the collection array out again, and go for that creation chamber, and it's most likely going to be a similar build as what we saw in the game just before. But interestingly here, for LucifroN, he's gone command post first. That's not something you see every day out of a Vanguard player, so... He's actually made the right call here. He assumes that Mana is going to go and play fairly safe. And that's exactly what he's doing there. So he's going to go ahead and go command post first. Going into barracks. Not going to be getting this early dogplay out on the map. Just the one scout at the moment. So, in fact, you know, if Mana would have gone for some sort of a dirty play with, like, a sneaky... proxy morph core creation chamber coming across the map. Maybe he, you know, runs it along the bottom of the map so the scout doesn't find it. This probably would have spelt the end for LucifroN. And we could possibly be seeing Exos coming out of him here, as we do see 2 racks going down. LucifroN's very good with the Exos. I've watched a bunch of his games, and one thing I've noticed he's particularly proficient at are 2-pronged attacks, drops going off at the same time, all that sort of stuff. So I do wonder if we're going to see that sort of stuff out of him. He loves to go Exos and then follow it up there with the Atlas, getting an evac, getting some drops going there, and just really knuckling down on his micro. So we're getting Kree rollout here, guys. We are going to be seeing Krees, a very early Krees out of Mana. Along with the Argents there. Okay, so getting some dogs out here to start. Biolab has gone down, so maybe it's not going to be Exos. Maybe he's just going to go for Brilliant Claws, most likely. But he certainly could transition into Exos after that. You know, I think Mana has done a really good job of dealing with the Hedgehogs, though. So he's 2 games down at the moment. He can play 2 more games here if this ends up being like a 4-0. Going for a couple of Lancers here. So actually not committing to the Scouts too much. So what is it going to be? This is always kind of the interesting point in the game. We see now Mana getting out his Arc Station there. So starting to tech up a little bit himself. No upgrades yet for LucifroN though. Unless he really, really quickly got the Brilliant Claws and I missed it. Sometimes he likes to put a Solar Habitat down there and he will boost... No, Brilliant Claws are definitely not out. Is he even... Yeah, the command post is still there, so he doesn't even have a central command yet. So it's definitely going to be Exos here. I mean, why else would you... Oh, he's built a... Oh, my bad. He's building it here on the natural instead of in the main. So now it's up, and the upgrade should be starting there any second. I just wonder, though, why he built the Biolab so early, because normally you build this to get an upgrade, or you build it so you can build Exos. And he's built it early enough and not actually done either of those things. So that's kind of questionable. Normally you would either sort of get your command post, your central command down, then start the upgrade for your Brilliant Claws. Hangar Bay is now coming down. Okay, so there you go, guys. It's neither going to be Exos nor an upgrade. He wants the central command so he can get the hangar bay nice and early. And I think he saw how effective those Hornets could be out on the map, you know, against Mana's prisms, and he wants to go and get a bit of harassment out. And actually, this could work really, really well. Because right now, Mana has pretty much just Krees. Krees don't shoot up. The Argents do shoot up, but they're very slow. And look where they are. There's only 2 of them for a start. And they're out here on the map creeping. Mana is actually going to take this V5 rocket, though, from the siege camp. So, I'm not sure where the pathing of this one goes. Yeah, I think it just goes down into this base. Like, even if it's technically your camp on your side of the map, it just kind of paths down here. So, unlike Jagged Moor, where we see the siege camp actually go right towards the enemy base because it's kind of shaped like a U on the side. On this map, it just seems to be going wherever the hell it wants. Is it actually going to engage with these dogs here, getting a bit of harassment on the power bank? Oh, flies straight over those Argents. So not only is Mana going to get a great scout on this, he also gets a bit of damage on it there. And when you've only got 1 Hornet, you definitely don't want to be taking any damage. Couple of Argents now coming out back home. Remember, he can always make this the prime building and start pumping out Argents back home. And these are probably going to be able to fend off the Hornet there in the main. The Hornet's going straight after that Prism, though. Gets 1 pick. LucifroN really needs to do some damage with this. He's committed so much to getting this hangar bay early on. There are so many other things he could have gone for here. He's only got Lancers to back this up at home, which are actually going to be a very nice defense. Yeah, actually going for the kinetic redirection there as well. They will be a nice defense against Krees. Oh, wow, just escapes there. Probably going to use the recall ability, or the, what's it called, you know, where you send it back to your hangar? Return to hangar, let's just call it that. So the Roller Boys are moving out across the map here. This is going to be a pretty big counter-attack from Mana. Actually, 3 Hornets out there now, so he has to be careful. There is a Cabal. So the reaction to this has come along, but just look how quickly these things snipe the prisms. That's absolutely crazy. And massive counterattack going on in the meanwhile on the natural of LucifroN. He gets a pretty nice concave on the buzzsaw cannon. Absolutely no bobs get in there on the repair. But there's also a lot of Lancers here to defend for LucifroN, and those are going to do absolutely wonderfully against the Kree. So with the Bob overcharge, I actually think LucifroN is going to be pretty much fine here. Hornet is now coming out to contest some of the Argents, although I definitely wouldn't want to lose that against them. But he can also repair that with the bombs. So some of the Kree are going down here. A lot of the Lancers have died as well. And that was kind of like one of the more awkward fights you see in Stormgate. Sometimes I find the time to kill in the game is, you know, I like that it's lower, but sometimes it's almost awkwardly low. Where, you know, you've got Bobs repairing, you've got Krees going ham on them, the Lancers are going ham on the Krees, and sort of nothing is dying for a really long time. But I digress. So the artillery has actually finally made it. After its long journey across the map, it's now starting to push on this natural. So this has actually paid off for Mana. I guess this has been his plan all along here. He just waited for the artillery to get there, followed it along with his army, and it's finally here, and it's probably catching LucifroN completely by surprise. He's like, wow, you're going for the artillery on this huge map, all the way across the map? Okay, dude. So Cabals are here. Do they have Gravity Flux? We can't actually see that, unfortunately. Where's the Guardian Nexus? There it is. I'm not sure if he's got Gravity Flux available here, guys, so if the Hornets do come home to defend, there's one hanging out over there, they may be brought down to the ground, but, you know, there's enough Argents here as well that it could spell disaster there for Mana. Now, Exos are coming out here. So this is probably going to be allowing him to turn the tide. He really wants to get that artillery down. He gets it, sniping off some of the Argents, and now I think Mana could be in danger of losing these Cabals. Yeah, he's going to lose all the Cabals here. Hornet comes home to defend in the nick of time, does get a debilitate on it, but it's not going to matter. And Mana leaves the game. GG. Game number 3 going to LucifroN. So very well defended there by him. So welcome into Lost Hope, guys. Let's see if LucifroN goes for that very early expansion again. I like that game from him. He actually tried something different. I was just saying in the last couple of games, I've never really seen him go for anything except his dog opener, and then he'll either go into Exos or Hedgehogs. But that game, he tried something different. And you know what? It worked. the scouts, the Hornets really did an amazing job picking off a lot of the prisms. It is somewhat of a gamble, though, I feel. You don't really know if the Infernal player, the Celestial player, is going to build prisms or if they're going to build collection arrays. Because if they build collection arrays and they only have prisms, let's say, on the Ethereum, there aren't as many picks that you're going to be able to get. Whilst they do melt the prisms in the air, they don't do nearly as much damage against ground targets like the collection array. But if you lift off the collection array to try and float it away, that's actually a bad move, because then they're going to start to do even more damage against that. So LucifroN says, okay, that worked. Let's do it again. Can't really fault him there. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying the cast here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Plenty more content to come on Stormgate out of me. Can't wait until Tuesday. There's going to be a massive patch coming out then if everything goes to plan for Frost Giant. So disclaimer, it might not be Tuesday, but that's the date that they're aiming for, they've said. And it's going to include a lot of new changes. There's going to be a new hero coming for co-op mode, lots of balance changes, new aesthetic changes to the game as well. I know they've reworked Amara for the campaign, and we don't really know the full details of it yet. So as soon as I have my hands on those, I'll be making a video about all of that. And outside of that, it's just a really nice way of you guys showing your support, and it's very much appreciated by me. So, yeah, LucifroN, again, going for that double barracks. Probably going to be getting that Lancer production up again. Which is, it's cool. You know, Lancers aren't a unit that you see used against the Celestials all too much. A lot of the time, if you see bioplays, it's going to be Exos, because they just do so well against every unit in the game. I feel like if you've got a bunch of Exos, you know, you never say, oh, I've made a terrible choice here. This is the worst army I could possibly have. No, they're just always very good. Whereas if you have a bunch of Lancers, yes, those situations can arise where you can't do damage against air, you can't do damage against hedgehogs, and you're getting shredded. So that's why, you know, a lot of the time Exos are sort of favoured. But, you know, seeing this Lancer play out of LucifroN is kind of interesting and fresh. So, if he's going for the same thing here, we expect to see a central command going down pretty quickly here. As he's starting to get his Therium harvesting going up there. Only got 10 right now, though, so he's, you know, he's not committing too many bombs on the Therium just yet. Instead, wanting to get his Luminite production up and running. The Biolab is down, though, and that signifies that Central Command will be coming pretty soon, as we don't see any upgrades on the Biolab just yet. Meanwhile, Mana's slowly starting to push across the map here, so it kind of looked like he was just contesting the scouts, but he's actually just going to go ahead and push straight into Mana's base. Sorry, into LucifroN's base. But the Sentry Post comes down there in the nick of time, so great reaction here from LucifroN. He sees what Mana's going for all the way across the map, and notice the positioning as well. He's got to protect this ramp, but he's also got to protect the back door as well, and this will do just that. So the Argents aren't going to be able to get much of a snipe on there. Mana thinks better of it, and he goes down the ramp. Now, we actually do see a change for LucifroN. He is going for Exos this game. No Central Command yet, and no Quick Draw Hustle coming down just yet either. It's debatable when you want to get that. Some players like to go for Quick Draw Hustle very early on, but Argents aren't that quick. Well, actually, they have the speed camp buff here, so they are going to be a little bit quicker, and Mana is going to just push straight in and try to go for this flat cannon. Snipes it in 2 shots before the repairs can really start to ramp up there for LucifroN. But are these Exos going to be enough to hold off this attack? I mean, you know, you can just see the speed of the Exos. Yes, they're faster than the Argents, but until you've got that Quick Draw Hustle, they really don't start to shine quite as much. And Mana actually moves back and retakes this speed camp. I think this speed camp buff is absolutely pivotal to him having a successful engagement against these Exos. Going in the back door of the main here, taking down those trees, putting power banks down. He even has the Arc Ship over here, and he's actually making prisms and probably sending those back home. Oh my god, is he going to stop? He's going to make prisms, and this is the beauty of the prisms, guys. You can just send them to mine on his side of the map. So even though you're using those prisms, even though you're using the Arc Ship offensively here to back up your army, hey, that doesn't mean you can't carry on macroing, right? But instead of sending the prisms all the way back home to your own base, just put them here. LucifroN's never going to think about that. Not in a million years. So there's a sentry post drastically being constructed here. The flat cannon does go down here. Bob overcharge goes off. But there are a lot of Argents here on LucifroN's door. And only a couple of Exos to defend. The firepower is just too much. You know, you can repair those sentry posts to a certain extent. But once you have this many Argents, you just snipe them so easily. And you can see how afraid Mana is, though, of the Bob overcharge. He's running away from workers here, guys. You will only see this happen against Vanguard players. The Bob overcharge is scarily good. They have so much army. They do so much more damage. It just really often isn't worth the trade. I've seen so many games where players have decided to just A-move and attack into the Bob overcharge workers, and they lose their entire armies and go on to lose that game. So, Mana, he's not going to make that mistake. Bob overcharge has now gone, but, you know, LucifroN does have another 50 energy here. So, perhaps he's going to be able to get another one off. 2 flat cannons are now up in the main. This one's going to get sniped again, though. The bombs are just too late to the party to repair, and more of them are now going to get sniped off. I think Bob overcharge has to still be on cooldown for him. Another sentry post goes up, but every time one of these gets sniped off, that's 100 Luminite down the drain for LucifroN, so that's definitely not what he wants here. And he certainly doesn't want Mana setting up on his doorstep and mining his resources. Now, the quick draw hustle still isn't done, guys. He has decided to go for a build here where he was clearly planning to get out some Exos early on and then get quick draw hustle. Unfortunately, the number of Exos has never really materialized, but he is getting some nice picks here on the Kree. Those Krees did get a few Bob workers, but I don't think that was necessarily worth it for Mana there. Those Krees have gone down very easily to the Exos. But we've actually got a creation chamber out here in the middle of the map that Mana most likely dropped as he was floating across there with the Arc ship. And yeah, we've got plenty of mining going back home here as well. 2 collection arrays. Only 1 prism on them there, but we've also got 3 prisms, 1 in the main as well. So that's like 1.5 base right now for Mana. And then we've got 2 base full mining, though, for LucifroN. So theoretically, if Mana doesn't just move in here and do something, and it seems he's not going to do that, he's actually going to back off. Those 2 power banks do still survive, but I can only assume they'll get picked off pretty soon here by LucifroN. Yeah, things are going to really start to snowball in LucifroN's favor because the quick draw hustle is coming out. He has the superior economy ever so slightly, and the Exo numbers are going to start to go up and up and up. And we all know how that turns out once you get that Exo death ball. So a second Arc ship here coming out for Mana. I was about to say, did he lose his Arc ship? He certainly did not. This one's now being upgraded to an Arc station. So he really wants to start pumping out some prisms here. This was very, very popular when the first build came out because there was some sort of a bug with the cost that it took to build an Arc ship. It was only 200 Luminite when it should have been 300, so we saw a lot of players like Probe. He would generally build a second Arc ship right at the start of the game and start pumping out prisms, but that certainly is a viable tactic to macro up as the Celestials. You know, you don't always have to go Morph Core and then get out collection arrays. You can also just not bother with the collection arrays and just go for prisms instead. And look at Mana, the cheeky little beggar. He's still mining away there on LucifroN's side of the map. And this could matter, guys. You know, if it gets into the late game here and bases start to run out of resources, that's going to be a rude awakening there for LucifroN. But right now, Mana has complete control of this game. Make no mistake about it. He has entire map control here. He has most of the towers on the map as well. Kinetic redirection is now coming out for LucifroN as well, so he is going to be getting some Lancers out to supplement his Exo army. But this is a pretty nice concave, a pretty nice wall here of buildings. The flat cannon there at the back. The Bobs can easily run in there to repair before the snipe can get off, and then there's also all of the Exos there. So this is not an easy position for Mana to push up into. I would say he should rather push up into the main base like he was trying before, but he thinks better of it. Now, there is a hangar bay out, and there's a Hornet on the way, and it's going straight here, and it probably is going to run into this Morph Core and get a pick on it. Yep, it is definitely... Oh, is he going to go past it? Oh, he doesn't see the Morph Core. That would have been an easy pick there. Actually, he uses Promote there on the Hangar, or on the Hornet as well, so that it can do even more damage. Oh, beautiful Gravity Flux, though, from the Cabal. Grounding the Hornet, and LucifroN answers with a shield, though, saving it just in the nick of time, taking it down to 16 damage. They actually made a pretty big change, guys, in the last patch to the shield, whereby instead of the shield protecting you from 100% of the damage whilst the shield still holds out, it only protects you against 90%. So you could still see the Hornet there taking damage, despite the shield being on there. Although I did just hear an explosion, so I think that first Hornet may have gone down. But a second one is going to come in here and get... Just look at the damage it does against those prisms. Absolutely bananas. There is a strike node there to defend, though, and it does take this Hornet down to 43 health. So LucifroN needs to be careful. And a third is now up and running for him as well. So he's doing a really nice... This feels more like a game of almost StarCraft to me. You know, the Terran or the Vanguard sort of turtling up. Getting some harassment out on the map with some air units. And the Celestial player just all over the map with buildings and power banks and... Like, this is... Oh my god. Why has he got 5 here? I think, yeah, you can only mine with 4 at a time. So one of these is wasted. He must have misrallied it there by accident. But this is really nice to see the difference between the races, right? We're seeing the Vanguard doing what it does best. Defending, turtling up. And we're also seeing the Celestials doing what they do best. Just being absolutely all over the map. Oh, is this Hornet going to go down? Does LucifroN even see this? I don't think he did, man. He's got Hornets all over the place. This is what I was talking about. He loves to do these two-pronged attacks. He actually loses one in the main there, though. So maybe he bit off a little bit too much more than he could chew there with the three-pronged attack, going for the main, the natural, and the third all at the same time. And meanwhile, Mana is just going to storm straight in the base. Actually does go for the Animancers and get the Gravity Flux there. And he's putting it in a beautiful position here, right above the ramp. So LucifroN has no choice but to walk up straight into the Gravity Flux. And he's actually just... Is he just sacking this? What is he doing with the army right now? It's just kind of waiting down there. Maybe he's afraid that the Animancer's still got energy and he's waiting for it all to be finished. And the Exos are going to come in here and polish off all of these Argents fairly easily. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I spoke too soon. There's more Argents down there. Big Gravity Flux now going down on those Exos. And oh, he has to be careful backing into a core. Oh my god. Absolutely insane damage here coming out of Mana. Those Gravity Fluxes were brutal. I know I said in the first game that Gravity Flux is maybe not quite as effective against Vanguard as it is against the Infernals, but here Mana proves me wrong. And Mana takes this game going up 3-1. Alright guys, map number 5. Jagged Moor. Always an interesting one. Oh, the scores are wrong. There we go. Let's sort those out. I'm sure at some point the colours have switched around. So they're trying to confuse me here, guys. They're trying to screw with me. But I'm too smart for that. I will not be fooled. So 3-1 to Mana is the score, just so we're clear at the moment. And this is going to be a very interesting map. This could be make or break. You know, Mana, like I was saying in the last game, I would have gone for something cheesy when you're up 2 games. Or was that a couple of games ago, maybe? But it was too large of a map. Now, this map, on the other hand, if you want to go for something cheesy, this would be the map. And we also saw Mana go for that siege camp push a couple of games ago. So, you know, this map, it's much shorter distance. At least I think it is. It's kind of hard to equate it because if you take down the rocks here in the middle and then you grab the siege camp, then the V5 rocket will go this way and it can start pushing up this ramp here on the natural. But if you don't take down the rocks in the middle, you have to go all the way around here. So it's actually debatable whether that is shorter or longer than on some of the other large maps in the game. But I guess we're going to find out. Maybe Mana's not going to go for that at all. At the moment, he's just playing it safe, getting out his first collection rate, getting a creation chamber. So we're going to see what he decides to go for. LucifroN is going to go for that early command post once again. So despite the fact that ultimately he ended up losing the last game, he still believes in this build. Is he going to go Lancers early on and get those Hornets out? I think he really likes this Hornet play. He deems that it's doing enough damage for him. I am not entirely too sure that it's worth the excuse me, the investment of getting the hangar bay and getting out Hornets and spending Therium on those, you know, just to kill a few prisms. It depends on how many prisms the enemy builds, and it depends on how many prisms you manage to pick off. If he was going to transition into Atlases, and maybe that's the plan, right? Maybe afterwards he utilizes the hangar bay to get out an evac, and then he gets Atlases with it, then yeah, it's probably worth it. But so far we've only seen him get out, what, maybe 2-3 Hornets, and then that's pretty much it. So I'm not entirely sure that is a worthwhile trade, but nevertheless, LucifroN obviously thinks so, and he knows a hell of a lot more than I do about playing the Vanguard, so we're going to leave it up to him to decide. But I do fully expect to see him go for that, as we do see him going for the same thing there. Getting the Biolab out. Is it going to be Exos, though? Is it going to be Lancers? Let's wait and see. Right now, there are a couple of dogs out on the field, though, and they are going to get a nice little pick on the Argents as we play the Who Can Snag the Creep Camp game. Whoever gets the last hit, by the way, on the camp gets the resources. So you can dart in there with dogs and try to take down the creep when it's on its last legs, get the resources, which probably LucifroN could be doing right now. And he, oh, yeah, he tried to do it there. I'm not sure who got it. It would actually be really, really nice if we saw perhaps a red or a blue colored number which would depict who gets the resources. Actually kind of trapping this Argent in the back there, and it is getting very low right now. Mana doesn't seem to care too much. He's just bringing in more Argents here. The Arc ship is moving across the map, and look at this. A Morph Core has put down a proxy creation chamber right on the doorstep of LucifroN, but it seems that a on the sense, is it on the scent? No, on the hunt scout from the dog there finds that straight away. So this is not going to be that surprising to LucifroN. There is already a turret down there in the main. The bobs are being pulled to repair, so Mana is not going to get a poke into the base there, but he is going to get this creep camp. So once again, because LucifroN's gone for this very early expansion, that means you sacrifice your ability to be out on the map. The way that Frost Giant has sort of set up this game is you can choose, right? You can either go early expand and get an economical lead in that way, or you can decide to go early army units and you can move out and take creep camps, take the map control, and get some resources for doing that. It's very difficult to weigh, you know, apples against pears and say which is the better tactic. But in this situation, obviously, Mana's going for the ladder and LucifroN's gone for the former. He's just going to push straight into the natural here, though, and he is going to get this flak. And I think, wait a minute, no, the repair is just too strong, takes it down to about 30 health. But my god, Bob Repair is absolutely bananas sometimes. So I don't think he quite had the number of Argents there. Like we were talking about, once you hit that, you know, certain threshold of units, you're able to snipe those sentry turrets down. And there just isn't enough surface area around them for enough mobs to repair faster than you can snipe it. But this time it seems that Mana has underestimated just how many units he needs. I think this is the amount of units. Now, he had like a couple of Argents too short there to be able to snipe that. So he is going to go and have another poke at this, I think, fairly soon. But there's a bunch of Exos out now, so that's going to be the tech of choice. Quick Draw Hustle is going down. Habitat is going to get sniped or cancelled here. I think he got cancelled, so he didn't really lose any resources on that one. But the longer this goes on, the more LucifroN is going to set up a little bit of a sim city there around his natural, much as we saw him doing in the last game. And the question is, can Mana break this? Is he going to have to wait for those Animancers again, as we see LucifroN get in there and get a nice little pick? Man, those speed camp creeps have been drawn all the way up into this high ground here. They're getting pretty far away from the original creep camp. But nice move from LucifroN there, taking down a couple of Argents with his scouts. And he's been constantly harassing here, constantly putting on pressure on Mana with these couple of scouts. So even though he's mainly built these racks here to get Exos out, the scouts have certainly not gone to waste. I think a lot of players will make the mistake of building some scouts, and then once they're done with them, they'll just kind of leave them on the map somewhere to die, but not LucifroN. He's all over it, and now the Quick Draw Hustle is out, and he is going to start pushing Mana off of his doorstep. Gets a couple of picks there. I mean, you can just see how much better these Exos are doing against the Argents. They trade so much more effectively, and now the numbers are thinning enough where LucifroN doesn't care if he loses an Exo or takes some damage. He's just moving into this army and is going to kill the whole thing. And boom, down it goes. So, really nice hold there from him. Interestingly enough, mana getting out vectors. Okay, so I kind of like this. I mean, vectors, yes, they're good against Exos because they do light damage, bonus light damage. But there are a lot of Exos down here, and the vectors are not going to get out in time. There's just nothing left here for mana. There is no army. The Star Forges have been committed to. This is resources, and all these buildings are going to go down. That is the drawback of the Celestials, guys. If you build out all over the map, guess what? Sometimes that is going to sting you. You're going to lose half of your base if it's out close to the enemy. And oh my god, look at this. He's mining again from LucifroN's side of the map. Surely he's seen this, right? Yeah, okay. Mana's moving the prisms away, so he's not going to get a pick there with the Exos. But he's mining here as well. The man is prism crazy. He loves his prisms. So he's trying to do a bit of a counter-attack here. Bit of a base trade situation. No, not quite. Is the way... Yeah, oh, okay. LucifroN's not going home. He's going to... Wait, okay, he is going home. Changing his mind a lot here. He's like, do I go home? Do I go for the base trade? Trying to get a view on the army here and say, okay, can I defend with this Exo and a couple of turrets? I think he definitely can. So I think the wrong decision was taken here by LucifroN, actually. This is a very small army for mana. Wait, did he? No. You cheeky boy. He was just mining from the home base of LucifroN with the prisms. I absolutely love that. And this, like, the cojones, I'm just going to say it, the balls on this man. And all these prisoners are going to die, though, so balls or no balls, this was actually kind of a bad decision by him. Loses all the prisms, and the Arc ship is going to get melted. Just look at the health drop. Down it goes. And a new Arc ship's being made, man, but I don't see a way back for mana in this game. I think he's lost too much. The hangar bay is going down. The machine lab's going down. The mech bay is down. That only means one thing, guys. We're going to see Atlas drops to back up this massive infernal army. Exo army, I should say. And I don't think these blast nodes are going to be even enough to deter LucifroN. I mean, he's just pushing in here, man, killing everything. And mana leaves the game. GG. LucifroN's actually going to take a game here and make it 3-2 for mana. So great job there in that game by LucifroN, and now we are moving on to map number 6, and it's going to be Broken Crown, the good old bread and butter of Stormgate, a map that I think everybody is familiar with. This is one of the maps in the game that has seen the most amount of changes over the various alpha and betas that I at least have participated in. I haven't played in all of them, but this was for a long time, guys, for those of you who aren't aware, like the ladder map. We only had one map to play a lot of the time in the rotation, so whilst you could queue up for other maps in custom games, this was like the only one. And a lot of stuff has changed. There used to be creeps here, there used to be creeps here, there even used to be a resource creep. Before we had towers, we just had creep monsters without towers, and we had these right here. So yeah, it's funny to see this map and how it's changed. I will say this though, Frost Giant do seem to be making a lot of big changes to the game every time there was a new beta or an alpha test. There was so many changes that came in the span of maybe a month or two that I fully expect on Tuesday, when we get the first big patch 0.2, that we are going to see a massive amount of changes. I think it's going to be more than people expect, actually. So, LucifroN needs to win this game, guys. This is match point for him. Mana only needs one more to take this series. I'm really happy this has gone the distance and it's not just been a 4-0 for one of them. We're on game number 6, not much more that I can ask for. Well, obviously game number 7 would be nice, but let's see. So LucifroN again is going to go for this early expansion. He's definitely solidified that as the build, but Mana is making a proxy creation chamber on the high ground. Now the scouts do have the on hunt ability, which allows them to ping and see enemy buildings and units and whatnot. So I don't think he's scouted this yet. He's scouting the main now. And he says, okay, I see you've gone collection array first. I see your Arc ship moving out. Where are you going exactly? He doesn't see a creation chamber, though, and he knows that mana has to have one. And surely, yeah, there we go, on the hunt, and now he sees the creation chamber. He knows exactly what's going on. And he has those 2 barracks coming down, but he went early expansion. And I think Mana knows this. He knows that an early expand is going to come out of LucifroN because he's done it, what, 3 games in a row now? And he is going to try and punish that. Now, he doesn't want to move in with 1 Argent, but this is being power surged right now, so it's not going to take him long to get a few more out. The barracks have just finished for LucifroN. There's only 2 scouts out here. Oh, sorry, make that 3 scouts. That's not going to be enough to get a wraparound, I don't think, on the Argents there. 3 Argents now coming out as well. And with the Arc ship moving over, remember, guys, they can drop heals on the Argents. And he's doing the same thing. He's building prisms, and I think he's going to be cheeky and start... Okay, he's not going to move into LucifroN's base and start mining with the prisms there. He's instead going to move over here. But this is a very interesting play here from Mana. I don't think I've ever seen a Celestial player use prisms in this manner before, where you move over your Arc ship to support this offensive push, but at the same time you keep on macroing and you say, hey, you know what? There's no need to move those prisms back home. I can just move them to the closest Luminite mine. It's no biggie. I can move those prisms whenever I want. And these 4 Argents are now starting to push in here. Now, there is a Repair-O-Matic, interestingly enough, coming down, so we don't have... Okay, there's an Argent up now that's going to switch out for a Flat Cannon. That's more like it. That is going to deny this attack. Maybe the positioning is good there, so he's not going to be able to get any picks. Maybe he can get an angle over here on the command post, though. It seems he can, but he's also got strike nodes down here on the low ground, and that is just going to deny all of the mining there for LucifroN. Yeah, there is no way. If you send all of your bobs, there's no way to make them mine on this side of the Luminite mine only. They will spread out. So that's going to stop all of the mining there. So regardless of how much damage Mana does with this attack, until these strike nodes are dead, these bobs aren't going to be able to mine and actually utilize this expansion. And he's going to push in here and try and get a snipe on the turret. But again, man, I don't think the Argent numbers are there. There aren't that many bobs around to repair. Well, actually, take it back. There's all these down here. Now there's another flat cannon. This attack is not going to work for Mana. This has been pretty well held onto here by LucifroN. And now these strike nodes are going to go down. Unlike the Vanguard, there is no way for for Mana to repair these turrets. So down they go. And just look how much damage these bobs can tank, even from a turret that is overcharged by the power surge. Kind of bananas. So the Biolab, of course, is up. It's not researching Quick Draw Hustle, but look at the creation chambers here coming down for Mana. Guardian Nexus as well. So is he just going to go for the upgrade and go all in with Argent numbers here, or is he going to go for Kree? Let's see what he decides to upgrade from there. He still has that creation chamber on the high ground, so I think he's just going to go for sheer numbers and try to overpower this base before LucifroN's macro can really start to kick in. Because right now, let's remember, he's only on 2 racks. He's building bobs, he's building workers. We see rollout coming, so it is going to be Krees here coming out of the creation chambers. Oh, a mixture right now, 1 Kree and 2 Argents there in production. Now this could be dangerous. LucifroN is moving out on the map with his only army units. Luckily for him, Mana has retreated back home for the time being. But as soon as that Kree rollout is done, he's really moving out far here. So he scans, he sees the army isn't there. He probably guesses it's out on the map somewhere creeping. And of course now he sees this vision turret, or this vision tower turn red. So that's a sign to him that LucifroN is out on the map. But he actually turns back home here. 3rd Rax is going down. Quick Draw Hustle is on the way. So this is really the timing when Mana, I think, wants to push across the map. Rollout is done. And unfortunately now this creation chamber is going to go down for him. I feel if he would have had his army right here, ready to go, with the rollout, I think he could have killed all these Exos. But that's not going to happen. So we'll see what does happen. He's going to continue to creep around the map here and just sort of stabilizing. Does have another collectionary going down there on the 3rd. How many prisms do we have? Only 2 prisms. So pretty much a 2-base economy here for him with 3 collectionaries and a couple of prisms. And that's, of course, going to match the 2-base econ of LucifroN. So I think we can expect him to get the, I believe it's called Photo Restoration, something along those lines. The upgrade for the Argents gives them a little bit faster movement speed and also allows them to regenerate their energy passively a little bit quicker, so they don't need the power banks to constantly resupply them. Beams up one of the creep camps there. Such a nice ability for the, I believe it's called Purify for the Celestials. Just allows you, by the way, it gives you the resources as well if you're wondering. Like, you just click on the creep camp and it just dies and you get all the resources. So, you know, especially on these harder to capture towers, like the Luminite towers or the Therium towers, where they start off at level 2 instead of 1, and at this point in the game, maybe it's like a level 3. That's really, really nice to have. That would be a nice quality of life change as well, if we could actually see, as we're observing a replay here, you know, what level are the creep camps? Because it doesn't really tell us. So LucifroN does scout the collection right here. You'll notice, by the way, he's made a bit of a change in the past couple of games. I think it was the last game we were talking about. Oh, wait a minute, I spoke too soon. I was going to say he's not been doing this Hornet thing. He didn't do it in the last game, but it seems I've spoken too soon and he is going to be doing it here once again. But like I said earlier, guys, there aren't like too many prisms. There's 3 here and there's 1 in the main. So that's like half of an expansion, right? You can equate that to killing 6 Bob Workers or 6 Imps, but then once you've gotten that, there's still going to be 3 collection rays. Now, this collection ray is completely undefended, so it looks like he is going to be going for that one, but he flies straight over the vision turret. In fact, he's going to stop here and engage with his Argent, which is a questionable trade. I'm not sure why you really want to lose health to kill this. I guess he wants to deny the cap on the vision tower there. Actually, really nice pick there from Mana. He's already got Cabals out, and he already has Gravity Flux researched. So he probably scouted, or just guessed, that LucifroN was going to go for Hornets again, and he's got Gravity Flux ready to go. And he just guesses here that he's going to be moving with one across the bottom of the map, which is completely correct, of course. One coming in from the top here as well. But he's going to look for the prisms. Finds 1 in the main. Is he going to get any picks, though, on the Therium? I mean, there's some Argents now coming in to defend, and Debilitate goes down there as well. If there is any unit in this game that is a direct counter to the Hornet, it is this guy right here. The Cabal, not only with the Gravity Flux, but also the Debilitate. Now, this is a nice little position, though, here. He's just out of range of the Argents there, but Sovereign's Watchman, that'll save you. That'll do it. And meanwhile, Mana is setting up for a big attack. Now, the Sim City is okay. There's actually an Atlas out here as well. There's an evac on the way, guys. So once that evac gets out, if this survives, he's going to kill the Atlas, though. It's too late. Oh, the shield does go down there, but it doesn't matter. The Atlas is going to go down. And he uses the top bar ability there as well. So, really, really nice play. I think LucifroN sees this too late. He reacts too late there. The army is just too far back. And now the evac's out, but there's no Atlas. So if he would have gotten this Atlas up in the evac, I think this engagement would have been very different. Oh, wait a minute. 1 more Atlas now coming out. So he can start to drop this around. He can put it up on the high ground here and defend much more handily. But there are Animancers out now as well for Mana. Does he have Dark Prophecy? I'm not entirely sure, but he's cloaking his entire army here almost. So we got the evac up here. What is the evac doing? It could easily get sniped. Be careful. Oh my god. Okay, it picks up the Atlas there. I think that was a bit of a misclick by LucifroN. He just sent his entire army and clicked it to the door. But actually, he's not really making much use of this evac. I would have thought we'd have seen a lot of macro or micro coming out of him. And he is attacking his own command post with the Buster Cannon. I think he's trying... This was a tactic people used to try to get it to bounce off of the command post into other units. But right now he's doing more damage to his own stuff than to Mana's. This is actually a nice position here. These Exos are going to get a lot of picks, especially with the Atlas doing additional damage. But the Mana's army, it's just too large. He's got the command post, and now there are massive Dark Prophecies coming down. I mean, you can set up there with your Exos and your Atlases and get a nice turtly position, but Dark Prophecy just doesn't care about that. It's going to shred absolutely everything. And it looks like Mana is going to come out ahead here and take this game. There are 2 Atlases still alive, trying to be drastically picked up by the evacs. I don't think the evacs really have the upgrade for the speed there. The evac goes down, the second Atlas goes down as well, and GG is called. Mana takes this series 4 games to 2. So really great series there. I thoroughly enjoyed casting this one. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you're not already, guys, make sure you are subscribed. The final of this is going to be coming, and clearly it's going to be Mana going up against Parting in another best of 7, so that's going to be a Celestial v Celestial. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching today, and I'll see you all in the next one.